There it is.
Hello and welcome to our 7th tool on our website of our Willibald challenge. Today we have the Agile Data Engine, and they will go through all of our problems and show how they handle the data from Willibald. If you have any questions to the data, well, it's nice to look at DWA minus compare.info. I will send a link in the chat. And yeah, well, let's fire away. Show us what you've got. I'm very keen on seeing it.
Cool. Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining tonight on a dark winter evening in December. My name is Christoph Happenfuß. I'm with Agile Data Engine. I'm responsible for Europe, and I'm joined today by my technical colleagues and friends, Greg and Henry, and they will walk you through the different things. So let me get started with a statement. Greg, first slide, please. We've been working in the data vault space for well over a decade, and our team has learned over time that building the initial data vault model is one thing, keeping it alive and actually growing and humming and sustainable over time, that's where the real difficulty is with data vault based on our experience. And we've also learned fairly early on that you need to have the right balance between automation, standardization, and flexibility to achieve long-term success with data vault. Next slide, please. And that's where we come into play. We're Agile Data Engine. We're a Finnish software company. We've been around since 2016, and we developed a data ops platform, which I will tell you about in just a second. And we have a fairly large customer base in the Nordics, and almost 80% of them are actually leveraging Data Vault successfully in production, many of them for 4 to 5 years now. And what our customers really appreciate is that we streamline their development processes and also the maintenance processes, thereby being able to lower the operational costs. Next slide. So what is it that we do? We at Agile Data Engine, we have one product only to make it easy for everybody, and it's called Agile Data Engine. What else? What it is that we offer is an all-in-one data warehouse automation platform. And when I say all-in-one, it means we're basically combining the functionality that you would usually find in multiple different tools from different vendors that would have to be integrated in a single platform, which is our platform. And it starts with data modeling, data transformations, workflow orchestration, and then probably the centerpiece of our solution, CI/CD, continuous delivery. This really tremendously speeds up the development process, and our customers really appreciate this. And then also data ops insights, which I will tell you about at the end of this presentation, which is basically leveraging metrics to improve your own processes and to clearly understand where you are. And all of this in a low-code fashion, as you will see, in a multi-cloud environment, and of course, Data Vault automation, which we fully support. Next slide, please. So where do we sit? So number one is we sit on top of your cloud database of choice. We support all the big ones, starting from Google BigQuery, Azure, AWS, and of course, Databricks and Snowflake. Today, we will actually be showing the challenge on Databricks. We're a close partner of theirs. And so we wanted to just showcase that Data Vault also runs very, very smoothly on Databricks. And so we basically sit on top of these cloud databases of choice. And we don't ingest any data. We basically just orchestrate and pass SQL into the database. And we do this extremely well, as you will see. And that's who we are. With that, Greg, over to you. Why don't you give the audience here today an overview of the look and feel of what Agile Data Engine, or in short, ADE, is all about.
Thank you, Chris. So we will switch between look and feel live demo and the slides a few times during this presentation, just to keep the session more interesting. Let me go directly to the tool now. So Agile Data Engine provides a number of different views and settings to visualize the data models and it to help structure them. And let's start by taking a look at the dimensional model created for the publishing layer of the Willibald's challenge. As you can see, we ended up creating a model which is constructed out of 10 entities. There's a main fact table containing transaction data and 8 dimensions around it. Let's now switch to the data vault model created for the challenge. The data vault model has grown to 62 entities. This view basically depicts the references between hubs, links, and satellites, and other entities related to data vault. Each type is marked with distinct color for easy identification. The view is fully interactive, and it lets us navigate through the model easily. So let me focus from let's dive deeper into the product data vault model, and from here I can easily also travel through to other objects. So first focusing on the hub, now let me traverse to product category link, and that way the navigating through the models is easy and transparent. Now let's move to the data lineage view, which shows entity dependencies and is generated based on the loads defined at the entity level. Let me focus on one of the objects called product category dimension in the model, and this view gives me all the upstream entities for this particular dimension. This view shows the individual layers. So here we can see the staging objects. This is the raw data vault. This is the business data vault, and the publishing layer object at the end. From this view, in order to, I can select other modes for this view, and in order to simplify the visualization of complex models which have many entities, AD provides this cluster data lineage view where entities are organized at the data product package level. And packages in Agile Data Engine combine entities, their loads, and associated metadata. And this is done to help modularize the data warehouse and generally manage the complexity in it. Let me expand that product DWG model again on this view. And now entities and their corresponding loads are shown. Now when I select the product category hierarchy link, for example, ADE shows me a summary pane on the left-hand side, and there is high-level information about the entity, its attributes, references, loads. You can easily, from here, you can easily access the full metadata view of an entity with just one click. And metadata is defined on both AD and database level in Agile Data Engine. And the metadata is categorized into a number of tabs. And actually, this product category hierarchy link is the solution for the first challenge. Let me go through the attributes quickly. Basically, the first 7 attributes are standard data vault attributes related to any object in AD defined for our environment, and in the in this first challenge solution, there are 2 IDs, 2 references defined for the hierarchical link. One is a product category child, and the other one is the parent. With that, I'll hand over to Henry, who will take you through the next part and the challenges.
Thank you, Greg. Now you should be able to see my screen. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so as Greg showed you, the first challenge was about the hierarchical link. So from the product category data, we created the link with child and parent keys, which reference then the product category hub. So in ADE, this is quite nicely visualized, as you saw from Greg's demo. And well, in general, this creating a hierarchical link is quite standard pattern in ADE. So that's about the first challenge. The second challenge was about the multi-active satellite. In ADE, the multi-active satellite is standard entity type supported by default. And how we do it is that we generate this subsequence key, which we call DW running ID. And with that, we can historize all the valid records per business key. So here's an example query. So there we can see how the data looks like with the generated multi-active satellite. So there we can see, for example, 344, where the actually the dates changed between the delivery periods. Currently, AD doesn't support adding that kind of multi-active key, so we only utilize those subsequence keys. But what is special in ADE is the creation of so-called current views for the satellites. So ADE actually automatically creates these views on top of satellites to extract the most recent records based on load time. So in this example, we can see that, well, we had those 2 deliveries for that 344. So then from the current view, we can see only the most recent records based on the load time. All right, so moving on, the third challenge was about identifying relationships and driving key patterns. This challenge was mostly about the relationships and whether the data was loaded in full or delta batches. In ADE, the status tracking satellites can be utilized either in delta batches, sort of only the changed data, and then the driving key dictates like what relationship is valid and what isn't. And then the second pattern is to treat data, incoming data in full batches, meaning full extracts. So in these cases, the status tracking satellites can be used to track also the hard deletions. And for this, we use that kind of status for the active or inactive rows. And there's an example of the delta extract toggle. So that's a toggle in the load option to sort of set true or false. And there we have an example of the generated SQL, which you can check after this session or in more detail. Well, here's an example of the status satellite attached to a link. And this was loaded in full extract mode. And similar to multi-active satellite, we generate those current views for the satellites to extract the most recent record. All right, so moving on, the challenge number 4 was the table without the primary key. For this challenge, we utilized a transactional link. Transactional link in ADE is technically a normal link entity, but we usually utilize the T in the naming. And these applications contain the descriptive attributes and usually no satellites, so it's only, as the name says, transactional link. In this case, we did the primary key for the transactional link from the foreign keys, but we also added the delivery date there. But of course, it's always a modeling decision how to compile the key, but ADE is flexible in how you want that key to be defined. So moving on to the challenge number 5, so integration of order. This was about the early integration. In ADE's entity-driven approach, one entity such as hub can actually have like multiple loads defined to it, and we will see this in practice in a bit later on. So for the hubs, we had actually for this integration of order case like order hub and order line hub, and then we loaded that order hub from both Roadshow and webshop sources, and then the order line from both those sources as well. But the keys were slightly different, but the granularity was pretty much the same, so we could utilize the same order line hub in that. And here we can just see the lineage as Greg showed, so the lineage how the sort of Roadshow and webshop order data was split into different entities. In this same case, so the satellites were split on the granularity of data. So for the order data, as I mentioned, it was actually split into header and line item satellites. So there in the data model, we can see the order line with the Roadshow and webshop satellites, and then also the order hub with the webshop and Roadshow satellites as well. The link tables we separated based on source system since the unit of work was slightly different, so we had different keys, so we ended up doing separate link tables for those. But as I said, we're gonna jump into ADE, so you already saw a glimpse of that in Greg's look and feel, but in this short demo, we'll extend the existing model. So we'll be adding a new load to that order hub. So let's move on to the ADE. So again, in ADE, we are in the data model view, and we want to add a new load to this order hub. So when we open that, we can see the loads there, so we can move to loads. And in this hub loads, we can see 3 different loads, but we are now missing the loading the order IDs from Roadshow data. So we actually want to create new incoming load. In this case, we can just go with the defaults and create that. Now we have an empty load, but we also want to map the Roadshow data to this hub. So we can go and create an entity mapping, and here we can just we have a separate schema for that. So let's find that. So now we have actually 2 different orders, one from Roadshow and one from webshop. So we want to map the Roadshow entity. So now we arrive to the attribute mapping window, and in this we can decide the keys pretty much. So first we want to define the primary key, and here we actually have this option to copy by reference. So there actually exists already references to the satellite, so we can go and copy that from there. And we already have default transformation called dv hash attached to that attribute, so we can save that. Then we want to add the business key as well in non-hashed format, so we can go and copy that from the hash key, and there's default transformation type for the business key, and save that. And now we are only missing the source system, which we want to flow from the source to the target table, so we can add that as well. So now we are quite happy with that, and I can just navigate back to the load. There I can see the entity mapping, And now I can just check the code preview, like how it looks like the ADE generated load. So there we can see the SQL it generates based on the metadata mappings we did. We are happy with that. So I can just go and close that and move to the package details. So we can just commit this package. So we added new load to a hub. So now we are happy with that. So we could commit that, and we can, in the meanwhile, go back to the data lineage and highlight this order hub and focus into that so we can see what we did. So now we have actually 3 loads from webshop and 1 load from the roadshow to this same hub. And now we check the deployment. It should be ready just in a moment. So we can move on to the next one. So, okay, now everything went green, so we can move back to the slides. And we will continue with this scenario in the later slides, so you can see what happens next. But going back to the challenges, so the challenge number 6 was about the reference table. There were actually 2 different reference tables. So for the product type, we just used a reference table with insert override logic. So in ADE, we have this default entity type called ref for the reference tables. And there we actually had defined default loading logic, which was this kind of insert override. And for that, we can see the generated SQL. So this was not historized, but just like always truncated and inserted in every load. But the second case was about the historized reference table. So there we used as well the reference table, but we created the key from all the relevant attributes to make it unique. And for this key, we could then use another load option, which basically generated us this kind of merge logic. Based on the mappings, it generated the merge logic, so we could actually historize the on-time delivery data to the reference table. Okay, so moving on to the test cases. So challenge number 7 was actually the test case. So it was about the duplicates in the loading data. And in this duplicate case, we had different set of duplicates. So the actual duplicate, which was the product number 20, and then the product with same product ID, but a different, so it was actually a different product, maybe some data error in a sense. And to handle these with ADE, we actually have 2 options. So we're gonna walk you through those. So the option number 1 would be that the data would be loaded as is to the raw data vault, and then a business rule would be created basically to in business vault or Data Mart to identify the correct product. But in these cases, you could of course or should contact the source system experts that why there is some error in the data. But here's an example how it looks like in the satellite. So we had the delivery number 1, which had these both products, then the delivery 2, and then in the last delivery we loaded those duplicate cases. So how those actually behave in ADE was that the product number 20, while it changed in the delivery 2 to something different, and then in delivery 3 it changed back the DB data has this equal, so I think it's the same data, but it was historized in the satellite. Then the product number 21 arrived in the delivery 1, then it changed in delivery 2, and then there were actually these sort of duplicates which was allowed to insert, and then that should be processed somehow in the Business Vault or Data Mart. But then the second option would be to stop the load altogether. So for that, we actually have that kind of step called gatekeeper, where we can add some SQL code to check if the incoming data can be actually loaded to the target table. So in this case, we utilized that to check if there are like duplicate keys, then it won't insert the records to the satellite. And we also added data tests to test the duplicates and then notify about the duplicate cases. So do two different options, either to just load as is or then use these gatekeepers, but nevertheless it's possible, and the default behavior can be set in ADE, so this could be the default behavior as well. So moving on, challenge number 8 was the records without business keys. So to hubs, the loads would work or worked just fine, since this is pretty standard data vault stuff. So you there is a key without value. So in this case, it's inserted just as -1. And in ADE, it's possible to configure these transformation formulas. So on default, those are something like this, but those can be customized as well if needed. Then second slide about the same case. So to a satellite table, that kind of record without business keys is a bit more problematic. And this is where ADE load steps are really useful. So ADE load steps are actually this kind of, you can define different set of sequels to be executed either before or after the generated load. So these can contain like smoke tests or even like error data vault loading or whatever is the use case. And what's really cool about this is that once I define that once, I can just save that as a template or even add it as a default, and then I can use that as a default template for all satellites, for example. So really useful stuff, those load steps and templates. And here's just another slide about the error vault stuff. And since this template was reusable, we could use that in the new satellites as well, or is set as default as I mentioned. Challenge number 1, well, it was quite straightforward. So the customer data has this information historized, since we have the data hash and DB load time and those defined. So this looks fine. So the data changed between the deliveries, and it's properly historized there in the customer satellite. Moving on, so challenge 10 was about the deletions in the customer. For the customer data, we again used the change tracking satellite with the full extract logic. And so that way we can track the deletions. And there we have, again, an example query. So we could see that, okay, in the first delivery, that customer appeared there, but then it was deleted, and then it came back in the last delivery. So nothing special in a sense there, just the test case. And here's just the same thing mentioned, just with the screenshots about the mappings, how the status satellite was defined. So you can check these materials afterwards. Challenge 11 was a test case. So the delivery addresses lacked those customer data in the customer. Well, this is standard data vault loading practice to load the hubs from all occurrences of the business key. So the hubs and links will be populated in this case, but the customer record for these is unknown. So there we again have a test case query. So we just check that, okay, we don't have the satellite data for those cases, but the data is there in the vault as it should be. But going forward, so challenge 12, again, pretty similar solution as to those previous ones. So we utilized status tracking satellite with the full extract mode. And there we can pretty easily see the deleted deliveries, and we put the delivery period there as well. We can see the deletion status per the delivery period. Okay. The challenge 13 was the last test case, and this was about the changes in dimensions. And for this, we utilized the point in time table. So we took a snapshot in each delivery from these product hierarchies, and then we have the data lineage. So that was pretty useful to use that in this case. And there we have just example query about from this bit table to see the change. So the hierarchy changed for that product between the different deliveries. Okay, so moving on to the information marts. So the challenge 14 was the key figures. So we utilized the dimensional model on top of data vault. So there we have facts and dimensions. You already saw that this in Greg's demo, and we utilized the merge logic generated by ADE. But we'll dig deeper into this in the demo soon enough. Just to note that we did the challenges, as Greg mentioned, in Databricks. So we utilized this dashboard just to sort of visualize the results and check if the figures were correct. So nothing fancy, but great way to check the results. Yeah, so then the business rules, the challenge 15. So we utilized the business data vault, as said, used the bit tables for product and product categories, and some views in the business vault as well. And in AD, it's quite flexible where you define those business rules, but naturally the place is usually in business vault or information marts. But we'll dig deeper to this. So we'll be showing from ADE the dimensional model, and then the some of the logic we have there in the information mart. So we'll hop on to ADE again. So there we have the same view where we left off. So from there we can move to the full data lineage, and now we actually want to move on to that fact table. So the order line fact table, we can again move to the loads, and from the loads we can check the incoming load. And there we actually had this kind of insert, update, delete by ID as merge option defined. And how that behaves, we can check the SQL generated. So that actually generates this kind of merge commands for the fact table. And what's really cool in ADE is this kind of, you can change the database dialect, so we can see how it would look like in Snowflake or how it would look like in BigQuery, for example. But one thing we want to do now is to just go back to the data model, and we want to actually change this. We have this order dimension, but I actually want to have this fact table. I don't know why it's dimension. So in this case, I can just go to the entity and I can actually change the entity type to a fact. And once that's a fact table, that's there. And I actually also want to change the attributes. So let's go to the attributes and change that source to a source system. And then I want to save it. So now when I go to the package details and commit the changes, it should do the schema changes automatically. So let's put here that change entity name and attribute. So once I commit that, ADE should automatically make the schema changes. So there, if I click the deployment, we can see what ADE starts to do. So it starts to install that package to Databricks. And depending on how long it takes, because AD uses this kind of rollback mechanism, so it actually takes a backup of the table before it starts to do the installation. So in this case, we can see the changes it did. So it did the entity modification. So it's actually cloned the table and then inserted the data and did the alteration. So that sort of rollback mechanism ADE has to sort of roll back any unwanted or changes that would break the table somehow. Okay, but that was my part. So thanks for that, and I can give the presentation back to Greg.
Thank you, Henry. So let's go back to the slides and to the last section called so-called overarching criteria. So the challenge number 16 was about the data lineage. I've already shown it in the demo. So basically ADE illustrates the upstream and downstream dependence for an object in an interactive mode. The data lineage is maintained automatically, and it results from the implementation directly. And it's generated on the fly as the models grow. The data lineage can be accessed externally via API or with third-party tools such as data catalog solutions. Also, the detailed lineage view is available in the Insights module Chris will show at the end of the demo. There is also this so-called package tree view, which is a high-level lineage available on data packages level. And this provides a greater abstraction level for the data warehouse implementation. Basically, what packages in AD are, they group entities with loads associated to them, and all the metadata and associated to them, and represent then a unit of development and also a unit of deployment. When it comes to orchestration, workflow management is an integral built-in part of ADE, and basically there's no administration required for the end users. Again, orchestration of load is defined on the metadata level in ADE UI, and it's part of the CI/CD pipeline, which I'll show in a second. ADE controls the workflow load processes by using slots, so-called threads, where the level of parallelism and maximum database workflow can be managed. We put some more information in the slide, so if anybody is interested, please feel free to read more around how it's organized. For our Willibald's challenge, we set up two workflows for the test data sets, one for the web shop and one for the roadshow, and those are also visualized as one of the views in ADE. And basically ADE behaves in such a way that it generates the downstream, unless we assign a schedule, it generates a downstream load based on the data load dependency. And I will demonstrate it live in a second how that looks in practice in the system for the newly generated load by Henry. About the scheduling, in ADE, workflow can be scheduled in various ways using cron expressions. They can be triggered based on dependent workflows. It's very common to integrate the execution via APIs. Also, not only execution, but also status checks. And quite a common pattern is to execute workflows based on events such as file arrival. For testing or development, manual execution is also possible naturally. ADE provides error handling on various levels. So CI/CD module manages promotion and deployments, error, and handles those. For the workflow orchestration and execution, there's an integrated Airflow instance built into the tool, and the load errors are handled there. There's extensive way of defining data quality checks, and all the errors can be reported via various channels like Slack, mail, or in ADE UI. Sorry. About the data quality tests, basically smoke gray and smoke black tests are defined for data quality tests. Gray steps log results and allow workflows to continue, while black steps log, fail the task, and stop dependent loads. Usually they are used in a combination with gatekeepers, which act as checkpoints to control workflow execution, and basically they prevent data issues. In general, tests are defined in SQL. Errors can be directed to additional steps, and typically in production installations, they form part of reusable or are defined in reusable templates and auto-generated in order to avoid the manual work around those. When it comes to the deployments, ADE has an integrated intelligent deployment management module, which handles the CI/CD processes. It basically stores the metadata, and it's based on the metadata. Metadata including database structure, load configuration, workflow details, and it's all stored in an internal repository. ADE implements late build approach, which optimizes the deployments by comparing objects and metadata state while introducing changes. And it's done on the individual environment level. And data product packages, which I talked about before, are the units of promotion and deployment in ADE. I will still show it quickly live in a second. When it comes to the supported databases, basically ADE supports major cloud data warehouses, Databricks, Snowflake, Redshift, Microsoft Azure SQL Database, Synapse, Fabric, and Google BigQuery as well. When it comes to the installation procedure, ADE is a SaaS cloud solution with no installation required. All the services are accessed via a web browser. A new Agile Data Engine tenant setup includes a few basic installation steps, like setting up database connectivity, defining runtimes, defining user and development standards, naming convention templates, and so on. They usually grow over time while as the environment grows. Next, I'll show a live demo of the schedule assignment, and then we'll deploy the changes Henry made on the dev environment, I'll show you how easy it is in ADE. Okay, let's switch back to the tool. This is the order package Henry has been doing changes in. If we now go to the order hub and check the loads, I can immediately see that that new load created by Henry, it was this one. And I want to now check how it will be orchestrated and scheduled. So in order to do that, let's switch to the workflow view. This view represents the workflow execution and the path of executing the loads. As we can see here, the new load from the new generated load was this one, and it got a DWG roadshow schedule assigned. I could edit it from here, but let me switch to the back to the incoming loads view. If I go to the load, and now I want to assign a new schedule to it, I just go ahead and click here, schedule. I predefined a DWG demo DAG beforehand, so let's just go ahead and assign it. If I save it, and if I go back to the workflows view, I can now see that this particular load has the schedule assigned, but also the downstream F order object inherited that newly assigned schedule, because it doesn't have any other workflow assigned to it. If I unfocus from here, I can now see that the entities related to this particular data product package are now touched by 3 separate workflows: roadshow, webshop, and the newly created DWG demo schedule, just for this one order hub load. And what's nice about Agile Data Engine is that the workflow orchestration is and the schedule definition is part of the CI/CD pipeline. So what I can do now is I can just commit this schedule change. I'll just put a schedule assignment comment there. And now what happens is ADE will not be actually doing any changes, SQL changes in terms of the tool or in terms of the database. It will only do the change in the underlying workflow. So the deployment has been successful. And now let me switch to the integrated deployments front end for Agile Data Engine for all the workflows. If I now reload the page with all the workflows, I should be seeing the DWG demo workflow, which has been just defined, and the deployment I ran created this DAG to activate. As you might probably have noticed, this is an Airflow instance, but the Airflow is fully embedded into ADE, and the maintenance of it is fully transparent. So as you can see now, it physically got deployed to Airflow, what was presented in the view beforehand. So now I have a load which is first the age order load, and then the downstream load for order dimensions. Just one more thing I wanted to show here: the code for orchestrating the execution. It's been fully generated by ADE. I didn't need to write a single line of code, and even for executing those 2 simple loads, it's 670 lines of code with all the error handling and all the dependencies management around it. So automation on that front is really useful. Okay, now let me switch back to the designer, and so here's the list of packages we used for orchestrate or for implementation of the workshop of the Willibald's challenge web show and road show example. And as I can see here, there are deployment statuses for each individual package, and all the development environment deployments are green, which means that they are up to date and deployed. And the changes Henry and I made during this demo are visible as non-promoted packages for order DWG package and for pub dimensional package. And now we deployed those packages to the development environment, and now what we want to do is just deploy them to production. So let's promote those packages to production by clicking promote, confirming it, and this one as well, promote, confirm. And it's basically as simple as that. Promotion caused those packages to be scheduled for actual deployment now, so they are in the promoted status. And now I can go ahead and switch to the deployment management package. And in this package, I can now orchestrate to actually run those deployments. So let me just click Start Deployment. I select target environment, so it's production now for me. And let's use the Databricks target instance. And now ADE detected that 2 packages have been selected for promotion, the pub dimensional and RDV order. Naturally, the order of promotion needs to be managed by ADE so that the RDV gets physically deployed first, then the pub. ADE will handle that automatically for us. Then we can provide a description. Let's skip that. And it's basically, it started successfully. And now it will be running. So first it will promote the order or deploy the order package to the production system, then the dimensions, and then as the last step, it will update the related workflows to it. So that's basically in short how the deployment management is organized in Agile Data Engine. As we can see, the product is already deployed to production. This is now green, and this promotion will finish in a second. Actually, it just finished. So with this few simple clicks, we actually made changes to the production system with multiple packages. Okay, I'll pass the ball to Chris now for the final summary.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So, I mean, as I opened up initially, it's important for, and based on our experience, to have the right amount of automation, standardization, and also flexibility. And with ADE, I think we've found a nice balance that allows you to employ data ops practices in your daily life. And speaking of which, Greg, can you show the slides, please? Go back to the insights. One thing that we haven't shown you live today is, but I also wanted to highlight this because it puts a lot of power into your hands, and that is data insights, which is something that we also provide as part of our product. And what it is it basically allows you to drink your own medicine, because let's face it, we're all talking about data, and we should be using data also to improve our own processes. And so what we allow you to do is to assess the status and the health of your development processes and the status of your data warehouse. We've actually applied a lot of the DORA metrics, which are known from the DevOps area, and put them in here. And it's a very powerful tool for you to benchmark yourself against, let's say, the past or against also other entities, and thereby also communicate to the business all the great work that you do. Yes, and that basically brings us to the end of this. Thank you so much. So again, we're Agile Data Engine, Finnish company. We have well over 50 customers in the Nordics and in Central Europe. And we're excited that we were able to participate in this challenge here. Big thank you to the Data Mart user group. This is a super thing to do. We really enjoyed working on the challenge, and big thank you to Greg and Henry, my colleagues and friends, for working through this today.
Yeah, thank you for showing us. And for the question and answer session, I will stop the recording so that we can turn it back on the screens and stuff. But thank you very much. It was very insightful. And the results will be shortly on our website.